Good evening, 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 Esther, good evening, Elaine, Ebonluwa, good evening. Where are the others now? Good evening. Where is Awolumate? Where is good evening, Irene? Good evening. Where is Shinyere? Where is Shinoye? Okay, Shinoye is here. Hi Vivian, welcome. Welcome. Good evening. Good evening, Ura. Good evening. How's it going? Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here again. Please reach out to other people. Let them join us. Let them join us. Let them join us. Happy. Good evening. Good evening. Happy. How have you guys been? Where are the others now? Where are the others? Where are the others? Where are the others? Go and tell them we're alive. Go and scream. Go and shout. Go and inform them that we're alive. I'm fine, Elaine. I'm fine. Where is Awolumate? Where is she? I've not seen her today. Ayomide. All right. So today is going to be very interesting, right? Because we want to discuss technology for product managers, right? I want to give you a clue into what I know. You've heard front end, you've heard back end, you've heard API, and all of those jargon, right? So I want to help you provide some clarity to that, and that's what we'll be looking into today. So when you hear people say that I'm a front end engineer, I'm a back end engineer, we are building endpoints, we are doing all of those stuff, it sounds like a big deal, but I want to help you get a bit of clarity so that when you get on a project and the backend tells you, I'm a backend engineer, I'm doing this, you have an idea of what he is doing, you have an idea of what is expected from each of those person. And I know you've heard terms like stack. They say, I'm a full stack engineer. Matter, how are you? I've been waiting for you. You hear things like I'm a full stack engineer, and you're confused. You're like, what do you mean by full stack? So all of those things, we will be trying to provide a bit of clarity into that, right? So who is excited to be in class today? Let me see. Who's excited? Who's excited? Who's excited? I'm waiting to see your comments. It's good to see you too, Martha. It's good to see you too. Oh, Esther is super excited, same as I am. Jumoke, welcome, welcome. I've been searching for you. She, we have asked after you. Good evening. Good evening. Awolumate, I've asked after you. Welcome. Welcome. How are you today? It's nice to have you too, Awolumate. Yeah, same here. I'm excited. All right, let's just get into business now. All right, so before we get started, how has it been overall? How has it been overall? How has the experience been overall? How's it been? Let me know. Tell me, let me know. How's it been? Three is excited to be in class. Okay, how's the curve been? How's it been for you? How's it been for you? All right, I want to know. The feedback is very important for me. Hey, Jamie, how are you? Good evening. I'm waiting. Oh, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm looking at your comments to see how's the class been. Good evening, Ola Tomiwa. How's it been so far? Good evening. It's been good, but not easy. Nothing good comes easy now. All right. It's been a worthwhile journey. You almost backed out, K. Why? You go nowhere, Esther. We're in this together. Good evening, Musmola. So, let's just quickly get into business. Um, while I was trying to come up with something for today's class, I was about to go into giving us a lot of grammar, trying to define what an API is. When I read through what I read, I said, this is too much English. So let me look for a way to simplify it. You're fine. I'm not in. Hey, your laptop. Sorry about your laptop. Sorry about your laptop. So I just thought of it. Let me look for a way to make it a lot easy and simple for everyone to grasp, right? Mata, you are going nowhere. We are in this together. All right. So today we'll be looking at the technology for product managers. So our focus for today will just be to help you understand, APIs and tech stacks. I know a lot of you have heard someone or somewhere mention API. You've heard someone talk about the different stack. Maybe someone told you I'm a front end engineer, back end engineer, but you don't even know how that works, right? You can't easily define all of that. All right. So an API, don't worry, I'm going to break it down. But let me just give you that definition. An API is a set of rules that allows different software applications to communicate with each other, right? Take that grammar. API allows different softwares to communicate, right? It allows A to communicate with B. Now, to break it down, when you think of an API, right, think of a waiter. So you enter these fine restaurants and you want to eat, right? When you want to eat, you don't know what's going on in the kitchen. You don't know how the food is being prepared, right? So, but you just order a food, and All you want to do is eat. So when you think of an API, think of that waiter, that person who will go to the kitchen to help you fetch your order and give your order to you, right? So an API is like that waiter. An API is that middleman that helps you, go to the back end, fetch the data, and take it to the front end. Do you get? So it's just like a middleman. It connects two applications to each other. Do you get that? Do you get that? All right. So, I mean, just picture it in your mind. Just forget the grammar for now, all those set of rules that I just told you. But think of an API as a waiter that helps you bring your order from the kitchen. An API is that middleman. Do you get? Do you get it? All right. So when you hear API, think of a waiter in your best restaurant. Do you get? So we're going to still go into it bit by bit, right? We're going to go into, all of these old stories, breaking down, what the front end is, what the back end is. But that analogy should help you understand what an API is, right? So you can now go back to that definition, right? Set of rules that allow different software applications to communicate with each other, right? They allow different software applications to communicate, right? It allows the front end to communicate with the back end, right? That's what an API is. So think of an API as that middleman. Are we clear? Are we clear? If you are not clear, let me know so that I would think of maybe another analogy I can use, right? So the reasons why, a lot of times the reasons why we build APIs, the reason why you need API is because you want different software systems to share their data. Now, what do I mean? So you think of how do I explain this now? So you think of still think of that kitchen, right? Kitchen has set of informations that you need, right? Kitchen has, that pot that contains that stew with a lot of meat, right? While you thinking of the client side. Now, when you think of yourself in that room, sitting down to get the order, think of yourself as the front end, the client side. Now, you need to get that pot of soup across to you. Now, something has to facilitate that communication. Something has to make sure that 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 process is seamless, right? Something has to make sure that that pot of soup gets to your table, right? So it's that, that API that allows that pot of soup leave the kitchen and get to your table. Do you get that? So I believe the reason why I didn't give you like the full meaning of API, I've told you that like more than one time rather. So application programming interface, I believe you know that, right? So just think of it. It's carrying the pot of soup from the kitchen to your table. Do you get that? If you get it, let me see. Say I get it too. Let me know so that so in other words, the API facilitates communication between the different software systems. You understand? The API helps with the ease of sharing data. Do you get? Do you get? All right. Okay, great. Oh, so your daughter just helped you bring the bottle. So, all right. So you think of your daughter as an API. All right. Okay, great. I'm glad you get it. All right. So the API helps to facilitate communications, like I've said to you. It also helps to, improve efficiency, right? Improve efficiency. Now, so a lot of times you don't have to build functionality from scratch because you have an API. So I want to build a platform, right, where I can order stuff. Now, know that I have to make payment. You understand? I have to make payments, right? I have to pay to complete my order. Now, one of the things an API will do for you is all I just have to do in that case. I just hope I'm not going too fast with this example I'm giving to you. If you don't get it, please draw me back. Now, instead of thinking of a way to build whatever it is I'm doing from the scratch, now I can think of Paystack, right? I can think of Paystack. I can think of other payment gateway that I can actually bring to my platform. You understand? So all I just need to do is carry their API, their messenger, integrate it to my own system. You understand? Integrate it into my own, my own ordering app. So what will happen is that by the time I'm trying to pick, I'm trying to make payments here, right? I just call that messenger, say, guy, Alpha, go and go and tell your own people that this money, oh, I want to pay. Sorry, give me a minute. All right. So sorry about that. Sorry um, for the interruption. So think of, okay, I can't have to worry about building a payment solution, a payment gateway. Now, all I just need to do is get the messenger of these guys, right? To help me bring the pot of soup from Paystack to my own table. Do you get that? So API will just help me improve my efficiency in the sense that some people have actually built a payment gateway, a solid payment gateway. All I just need to do is get their messenger. Now, remember I told you APIs. Think of APIs as messenger. So get their messenger, plug it to my own system. So their messenger will, when it's time to make payments, their messenger will just go to their own shop, you know, tell them that I want to make payments, and I'm able to make payments through their own shop. Do you get that? Now, now let me give you another example, right? Let me give you another example. Okay. All right. So let me give you another example just to help for this for clarity's sake. Um Okay, think of your normal Uber, think of all of those apps that requires maps, right? Google Map. So um, think of apps like Uber, think think of InDrive. You know now, when you want to go somewhere, there's a way the app is designed such that they can you can see you can easily view your route using the app. But do you want to know that a lot of times, most of this app, they don't build their GPS system, they don't build their mapping system by themselves. All they do is they go and get the messenger from Google. Google has built something that has to do with maps, right? Google has done a good job. All they need to do is just go to Google, right? Collect collect their messenger, collect their API, integrate it to their system, right? All right. Integrate it to their system. You understand? So, what makes it easy is when I want to go to anywhere, I open the InDrive, and all what is happening that you are seeing, but you don't know is that now Google Map Messenger or Google Messenger that handles, you know, just sends a message to my own app, right? Carries the port of soup from Google and brings it to my own table on my app. Do you get that? So that's really how an API works, right? So now he expand capabilities, right? He helps us to leverage functionalities of third-party services. Now let me explain this to you. So, for example, for where I work, right? You know, for the case of fraud and other things, there when we're trying to build in, the onboarding process. Maybe people want to sign up, people want to get on the platform, because we need to be careful of fraud. For security reasons, we need to look for a way to verify the identity of those persons. We need to be able to validate that these people, they are real people. They are not thieves. They can be linked to somewhere. They they have a root. You understand? So what we will do now, we don't necessarily have to build a system that will do that for us. Now, all we need to do is still get that messenger, that API, and integrate it to our system. So a lot of times when you carry your phone, and you're putting your face in that round hole, when they are telling you to look right, look left, look center. Now, two things are happening. They are either checking for liveliness, or two, they are using that messenger called the API, right? They're using that messenger called the API to fetch some data. They will send into a database, right, where all your credentials can be fetched. Maybe, for example, maybe you entered your BVN, or you entered your national ID number. So what happens at that point when you are twisting your head is they are sending that messenger to go to that database where a list of your information exists, to fetch your data, fetch your image, and compare it with what you have given to them. Do you get that? Or I should come again? Now, so I am saying that APIs help us to, leverage on third-party services. What do I mean? Helps you to leverage on, the work other people have done, on the services of other people. Now, I gave an example around, all this biometric setup, ID verification, and all the likes. So when you see a normal banking app, for an example, you are trying to onboard, you are trying to get on that platform. Now you input all your informations, and they also want to be sure that this person has a root, right? This person is not a thief. Now, what they will do, but you don't know, that's going underground, is while you are imputing your information, right? Okay, before I even get to all those picture parts, maybe you imputed your NIN, right? And you just saw that your detail was populated, was updated on that form. What just happened was that you see that messenger called API was sent to a database, right? Was sent to a database, and on that database contains all the information that has to do with NIN, that has to do with that um, has to do with the database that contains all those informations, all those data. Now they send that messenger to go there. Now the messenger goes there and check. Okay, this number, this is the information that is on this number. This is what I can find in that database. So that messenger now returns that information and brings it back to you, right? Look at it. Now the kitchen is the database, right? The front end is the client side, right? Now, the API is that waiter. Now, understand, the database where that information, that your NIN information is fetched from, is the kitchen where the pot of soup is. Now, the API is the messenger that will go and fetch that soup for you, right? While the front end, where those information are populated is the client side. You understand? So what happened at that point was you imputed your NIN, right? The API picks that information, right? Runs to that kitchen, that pot of soup, that database that contains all your information. Now, checks for that number, sees that number, and sees the information that is attached to that number. Now, it picks all that now it now carry all those meats from the pot, now brings it back to your table. Do you understand? That's what literally happens. So a lot of times when you see that your names are being populated and all of those things, it's just the work of that messenger called API, fetching your data from a database. Do you understand? Do you understand? So a lot of times, so like I was saying, when you are trying to twist your head and do all of those things, sometimes the system, that API, is going to your record and checking for your image. Now it will cross-check that image on that your record, cross-check it with that image of your face that you are trying to twist up and down. Now, when it sees that they match, then you can progress. You get? I hope you understand. I hope you understand. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you understand. So I think we can progress, right? Okay. All right. So we understand what an API is, right? Okay. So this is how it works, like I've explained. The front end, the client side, sends a request to the backend where the pot of soup is, right, for information or a specific task, right? Now, that backend processes your request, prepare the response. Now, this is it. Uh, think of the backend as, that kitchen that has a chef in it. You understand? So, the front end, the client side, sends a request to kitchen, right? Now, it sends the request to kitchen asking for specific information or specific task. Now, the chef will take the meat from the pot, right? Prepare the soup and all of those things. Now, then sends the response back to the user. How? Through the API. Do you understand? That's how it works. Do you get that? Do you get that? I need to be sure that you are getting it. All right, great, great, great. So when they tell you API now, it's very simple for you to understand, Abi. All right. So I'm glad you're getting it. All right. So I think I highlighted some examples here. Payment gateway like PayPal or Stripe. How have you wondered when you want to make payments for Remitter and you log into that Remitter, you go to remitter.net, you click on whatever you want to pay, and the next thing what happens is that you just see that they ask you to enter your information, enter all of this, and you just see something that is loading. You know what just happened? That there was an API call. They have called the messenger to come and go and meet PayPal or to come and go and meet whatever payment infrastructure that was integrated. You understand? So that's all that happens in that bit. So it fetches the data from there and allows you to do whatever you want to do. Do you get that? All right. So I'm glad you get it. Okay, so let's go into front end. Let me try to explain front end, right? Okay. What's the best analogy I can use? So think of the front end as the client side of an application that user interacts with, right? That's now you see that place where you enter your. Now, for example, you want to log into the app and you are seeing an image, right? You are seeing name, email address, you are seeing login button, you are seeing all of this information, right? The front end is that part where you see. It's not like the back end. You don't even know what's going on in the back end. So the front end is where you interact with. Is that place where you see, where you enter your email address, where you put your password. That's the front end. Do you get? The images you see, the menus you see are all part of the front end. Do you get that? Do you get that, please? Oh, my screen is blurring. Don't worry, I will just listen to me, please. Most of the things I'm saying are not even inside this slide. I will try to zoom out the slide, but most of the things I'm saying are just I'm just trying to give analogies would obviously might not be in the slide. So I'm just trying to give you, simple explanations that would help you understand. You get. All right. So think of the front end as that place where you see and you can interact with. All right. Um, what's with Christine and my network? My network is fine, Christine. You can hear me. If it was my network, you might not be able to hear me. So, all right. But at least do you get it to this point? Do you get it to this point, please? Oh, okay. Thank you, Christine. Don't mind me. Christine said it's not blurry. That's your network. Thank you, Christine. All right. So think of the front end as the client side of an application. So thank you. Sorry, apologies, Christine. So now that place where you interact with, that place where you enter your password, your phone number, that place where you click those buttons. Think of those places as your front end. Do you get? Now, let me dive deeper. I mean, of course, it might not concern you but then it's good to know. So when you hear things like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, think of front end. HTML for structures, CSS for design and styling. When you hear of all of those things, right, you think of front end. Martha, you're not hearing me, Ke? That has to be your network. Oh, receive good network in Jesus' mighty name. All right. So, um, a number of stacks. When you see people saying, I'm learning HTML, I'm learning CSS, that's really front end people. They're trying to learn how they can structure, for example, a website, right? A website, all the styling, all the way it looks, the feel. Think of it as your front end. Do you get that? Are we clear? Are we clear? Oh? So I'm trying to break this down so that you understand. I don't want to give you unnecessary grammars and definitions. And like I've always told you, my core is that you really understand this thing and you can run with it, right? So think of that screen you're seeing that you're interacting with as front end. Are we good? Are we good? Or do you still want me to? Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're good. So let's talk about back end. You have heard a lot of people say, I'm a back end engineer. I'm a back-end engineer, and you'll be like, what is back-end? What is back-end? What is back-end? So, let me think of a simple way to explain back-end to you. So, think of a theater hall. You know that if you have actually viewed a stage play, there's always a curtain that shields that stage, right? You see people, they are dancing, they are doing all of those things they are doing. They almost break their waist. At the front end, the user can see. You understand? So behind that curtain is where they have the pile of clothes, where they have their costume, where they can just enter, change the costume, make up, do a lot of those stuff. Now think of the back end as the back of that curtain, where you have that pile of costume. Do you get? So think of back end as that place where you cannot see it, but that's where the major thing is happening. That's like the engine room, because without that back of that curtain, they will not be able to do the next scene, because the next scene might require them to dress like a madman. Forgive my analogy, but then think of back end as the back of that theater room. Do you get? Are you still getting it? Are you still getting it? If you are still getting it, before I dive deep, because I want to be sure you are getting it. Are you getting it? Right? Let me know. Please respond before I fire. Oh, you are not getting it. Are you just joining, following sure? So what exactly didn't you get so I can come again? Okay, we can. Okay, I think it's only following shot that is not getting it. But then following shot, quickly tell me where you don't get it, where you missed us, so I can just don't worry, I'll do it for you. Come again. Following shot, please. Where did you miss us, or should we continue? Okay, from Rem. That's a long time ago. Ah, all right. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. All right. I just explained to you what an API is, right? And I told you that an API is like a messenger, right? That goes to fetch a pot that goes to fetch your order from the kitchen and delivers it to the users or the consumer or the right. They are connecting they are connected together. Right? So that messenger that connects those two persons. You get so an API goes to you order for rice. You don't know kitchen. You don't know how they cook that rice, but you order for the rice. Now, think of a waiter. Think of a waiter who is going to take your order and take your order to the kitchen and then bring back your order to you. Now, when you think of that waiter, substitute it and put an API. So, an API takes the request from the front end, take whatever, then return whatever information to the front end. Do you get examples of gateway? Now, gateway is so to payment. You are building an app that will need to make payment. Oh, so can you hear me now? Sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you all hear me now, please? Okay, good. Okay, good. So, all right. So I was trying to explain again. So think of the API as that guy who is your messenger, who helps you delivers your message, right? So think of the front end as that place where the user interact. And I gave an example, might not be very good, but an example, right? You have to decide, you have to determine if it's a good example or not. But it's an example, right? Think of that. You see that screen where you're trying to sign up on an app. You see that screen where you enter your email address, where you enter your name, you enter your phone number, you do all of those stuff, right? Think of that place as the front end. That place where the user can interact with, the user can see. Think of it as the front end, right? Now, I now went to explaining back end. Now, I know a lot of times you've heard words like API, you've heard front end, you've heard back end. You know, someone will tell you that I am a front end engineer. So when you see a front end engineer, think of that front end engineer as that person that makes that user interaction happens, right? That makes that screen you can see happen. Now, when you hear a backend engineer, think of that guy who is behind the scene. You can't see what he's doing, right? Right? But then it's like the engine room. Now, I was now giving an example of a theater, right? I hope I still remember this analogy I was trying to give. Okay, so I gave an example trying to explain a backend. I said, how many of us have seen, stage plays, right? Stage plays. How many of us? How many of us first? Where they come on stage, they dance, try to break their waist. Some of them use funny costumes. How many of us have seen all of those stuff? How many of us? So that I know if I can change my analogy. Okay. Okay. All right. So that means my analogy is still valid. So think of that stage, right? Now, there's a part of the stage where people can see. See, don't worry about that slide, please. Don't worry about the slide. It's very more important. It's more important that you listen to me. A lot of things that I'm saying are not on the slide. Are not on the slide. Please pay attention to what I'm saying. The slide is just a simple definition, right? Client side of an application that user interact with. Component HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's all you will see on this slide. But please try to see if you understand what I'm trying to say now. It gives you more clarity. When you get back to the slide, it's easier. It makes it easier for you. Please just try to listen to me, please. I'm begging. So they use, God, please. I don't want to keep going back to. I don't want to keep going back to to what I've said. Now, Java is a framework, right? You see people telling you they do React JS, Next.js, all of those are frameworks on JavaScript. So React JS, what's it called? Next.js are used by front-end people, right? For interactivity, like all those fine things, all those actions that you see on your website, all those things that look like magic on your front end, beautiful animations and all of those stuff is done on a Java framework. Now, I get your question, Eddie. There's also JavaScript. You hear something like Node.js, Java itself, right? They are all frameworks, please. Don't let us go back into all of that. All right. So they use JavaScript for to make the website more interactive, right? More interactive. All right. So let's just continue. Please take note. I'm just teaching us this so that we have an idea. We are not we are not engineers, we are product managers. So we shouldn't forget the core of our job. Understand? So, but then this is good to have this knowledge. It's helpful, right? It's helpful through your project, right? So, all right, that being said, let me go back to trying to explain backend, right? Backend, I was giving an analogy, please. I don't, the way I keep going back is but it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. What's more important is that you're clear. So before I continue, are we clear to this point? Are we clear to this point? Are we clear to this point? Okay. Please, I need, okay, thank you, Vivian. Glad you're clear. All right. All right, great. Thank you, Grace. Thank you for Lonjo. Thank you, Eddie. All right, thank you. So we can continue. All right, see. What was the analogy I was giving? Can someone remind me? The analogy I was trying to give for backend so that you would understand. Can someone remind me so that I don't go about another analogy? Okay, thank you, Vivian. So I don't want to get too technical, right? Because, okay, but let's just go. Because I feel like a lot of us are really, really new to this thing. That's why I'm trying to use all of these examples and analogy so that I don't get to confuse you, right? It is important for me that you all understand, right? It's very, very important for me. I don't want to bamboozle you with complex and complicated stuff. You understand? So I so believe in simplicity, and which is the best way to learn. All right. So that being said, yeah, thank you very much. I remember. So I was talking about stage play. Now you see people come to the stage, they dance, right? They dance, they do all of those things, all their acrobatics and all of that. They wear their costume, right? Think of that stage where you are seen as the front end, where you can interact with. You can say, ooh, you can even throw them bottles, you can throw them stone, you can applaud them, you can interact with them, right? You can even jump on stage and try to hug one of the performers, right? But in that stage, there would always be a curtain that demarcates the stage from somewhere you cannot see, right? The only thing you know is that they come out from behind that curtain, right? Now, that behind that curtain is like the engine room where it all happens, right? It's like the engine room. Do you get? So behind that curtain is like the engine room. Now they have a pile of costume backstage. They have their makeups backstage. They have the clothes they want to change to backstage, right? But you only see them come out and they're all in their costume. They look all beautiful. You see them with their waist bead shaking their. You see all of those, but you do not see what was going on behind the scene. Now, behind that curtain is where they wear that waist beat. Behind that curtain is where they wear all those their skimpy dresses. Behind that curtain is where they put their powder. Now, you know that if they want to go into the next scene, maybe when you're coming out, you need to come and display as a mad person, right? So all you just see outside there is that mad person. You are not seeing the pile of clothes that they put on that backstage. Now, think of the back end as that backstage, which serve as the engine room. You can't see it. It's like the server side. It's like the database. Remember, think of the database as the pile of clothes. You cannot see it. All you are seeing is them shaking their yansh, but you cannot see what is going behind the scene. So think of backend as behind the scene. Do you get? Do you get? So all the logic that makes whatever you want to make happens on the back end. You understand? You understand? Like I have said to you, now that database where your informations are fetched from, think of it as the back end. Now, think of the back end as a storage. You understand? Think of the back end as the kitchen that has thyme, it has curry, has maggi, has beef, has goat meat, has your pepper soup recipe. You understand? As the database of all your soup recipes, right? Is the engine room, but you cannot see it. You only say, I want pepper soup. And at that back end, pepper soup is being cooked. And, the waiter brings the pepper soup to you. Now, the front end requests for pepper soup from the back end. The API takes that information. The API takes that information that, okay, Dele is requesting for pepper soup, or Favor or Ikosola is requesting for pepper soup. Now, the backend, right, cooks the pepper soup, put all the spices together. Now, the messenger, the waiter, who is the API, now goes to the kitchen, the database, right, and say, okay, the client side, the front end, is requesting for pepper soup. Now, the API now carries the pepper soup and brings it back to the front end. Now, think of that backend as where your data is being stored. Think of the backend as where all the logic is stored, where the database management is. Do you get? Do you get? So, do you get that? Do you get that? Please, if you get that, let me know. All right, maybe I should give one more example, right? So, a backend is just like the behind the scene that makes the front end look good. So let me give another example, like application example, right? Let me give like an application example. So when you log into an app, when you are trying to log in, what happens is the backend checks for your username and your password. Now I have created an account, right? Now they have created a so let me break this down. Library analogy. I can't think of. I was a school 2 student, so I don't usually use libraries. So I can't really think of how to go about using the library analogy. But let me try. Right? Let me try. Let me give you another analogy. Now, okay. So part of what a backend engineer does, right? You hear them say they create tables, right? They use tools like SQL, right, to create tables, to create where informations will be sitting. You understand? Now, they now build that API, which is the messenger that actually connects their data storage, data management, that connects it to the front end. Now, so when I am trying to log into a mobile app, right? While I'm trying to create my whole information, the moment I'm trying to create my information, like my email, my password, all of those things, all of those informations are stored on the back end, right? on the database that was created by my backend engineer, right? So all those information I was trying to create, my username and all of that, is now stored on that backend. Now, when I'm coming back that I want to log in, the moment I enter my, my username and my password, now that messenger, right, goes to where those information are stored, right, and check on the back end. This username this guy is trying to enter, does it exist on this back end, right? So if it exists, the information is retrieved and sent back to the front end. That's why you see that when you enter that username and password, you can successfully log in. Now, for the case where you see invalid password, invalid whatever, you are not able to log in. What will happen is that now they checked on that database, on that backend. The information you are trying to enter is either it does not exist on that backend, on that storage, or what you have entered does not match what is actually stored in the record. So think of the backend as where the record is stored. You understand? Where all those informations are being stored. Think of the backend as the server side. Do you get? Do you get it now? Do you get it, please? Okay. I think let me give one more example. Or do you get it? Do you get it? Please let me know. Do you get it to people of God? All right. Thank you, Eddie. Do you get it? We're going on a break by 8. We'll come back and we'll continue. All right. I'm glad you get it. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay. All right, good. So you see, if you are familiar with some of the requirements they ask from backend engineer, you see a knowledge SQL, MongoDB, and all of those stuff, right? They are just like database management system, right? So really, that's it. So I'm glad you get it. I'm glad. So when we come back by we still have 2 more minutes. So does anybody have any question? Any question? Any question? All right. Okay. 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 So I'm glad you get it. I'm glad you get it. Okay. Any question? Any question before we go on break? For now, no. Okay. I'm doing a good job, right? Okay. So we have said a lot. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. We have said a lot. So we'll be going on a break by 8. Go and drink cold water. Try to digest everything you've heard. All of this plenty English I have said. Hmm? Go and drink water on it. Let it sit down well in your belly. So when we come back by 8:05, we can get back to business. Thank you, Eddie. All right. All right. So go and drink cold water and come back. See you soon.
Even though you said it to me. It's here. It's here.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor you are welcome in the name of the Lord. Tell your neighbor you are welcome in the name of the Lord now. Okay. Welcome your neighbor. Welcome. Welcome your neighbor. Say, my neighbor, you're welcome. My neighbor, you're welcome. Thank you, Jairesta. All right. All right, welcome back. It's nice to have everyone here. A cabo. All right. So before we continue, do me a favor, right? And it's simple. All we have said today, give me a recap in the comment section. Let's have it. 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 What you have learned from my plenty English, let me have it in the comment section. Let's have it. 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 Okay. All right. I'm waiting. We won't continue until I'm sure that all the Onyibo have said today didn't go to waste. If you are third parties that allow different softwares. Hmm. 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 No, API rather allow you connect to third party services. So they are not third party. They are more like the middleman that connects you to third parties. Mm. Thank you, Esther. Liking to a waiter bringing food from the kitchen. Good. Okay. API acts as between fundamental. Okay. And then about individual as middleman or a messenger. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Content API. Okay. Okay. All right. I still need one or two more persons. One or two more persons. Front end application is a visible part of the application in the sense, okay. Like a dancer on on the stage. No, no. API is not like a dancer out on the stage. API is rather a messenger. No, no. API is rather a messenger than a dancer. All right. Front end is the visible part. Okay. Thank you. Mhm. All right. I think let's just continue. Let's just continue. All right. Uh, so I have mentioned to you how they work, how the front end and back end communicate, right? So let's just go over it again because I have it on this slide. So I have told you to think of an API as a messenger, right? So the front end sends request. Now this is how it works. Hmm? I'm trying to paint a picture in your mind. The front end, which is the user facing side, right, sends requests to the backend through the API, the messenger, and also receives the response. Do you get? I gave an example that when the user logs in, tries to log in, the front end sends whatever credential you are trying to enter to the backend to check on the database if that information exists. And it does that through the API, right? When it confirms that it exists, then you can literally log in. But if it does not exist, you will have to try again. I don't get Duru's question. Is it only front end and back end that communicates with API? So literally, it's not two ways, right? I'm going to talk about tech stacks, right? For tech stacks, we have the front end, we have the back end, right? Front end, the back end, front end, the back end, front end, back end for tech stack, right? So when you want to build an app, you build the back end, build endpoints, right? And you build the front end, build the screens, right? Now, for the system to work, there must be an interaction between this front and the back. You understand? In every application. Now, for this to work, there must be an interaction between this front guy and the engine room, the back. Now, take note, the back-end engineer makes up this engine room, right? Cooks up this engine room, while the front-end engineer builds these user-facing screens, this user-facing place. Now, the two of them needs to talk to each other, right? The two of them needs to talk to each other. Now, there must be something that connects these two persons together. And the connection between these two persons is the API. Now, think of that year when your husband was trying to, get across to you. you went to a party and he saw you, he liked you so much, and he needed to talk to you. Hmm? He needed to talk to you. Now you are at the back end. You understand? They cannot reach you. You are at the back end. So, but you have this friend who is maybe your now husband's cousin. Who is a cousin to your husband? But there, you came for their party and you are at the back end and your husband cannot reach you. But then there must be a chemistry between you and that guy that likes you before marriage can happen, before you people can get to build a beautiful family. Now, what it does is it now goes to your husband now goes to that his cousin who happens to be your friend. Now tell your cousin that guy, how far there's this girl, one of your friends that I like so much, right? I would like to build a beautiful home with her. You understand? But then there's no way we can build a beautiful home if the two of us do not come together. So what your friend, who is his cousin, would do now would be to find a way to communicate your intentions to a friend. You understand? So that your friend in that case now is an example of an API. Do you get? Do you get that? Do you get that? So that your friend is an example of API, while your husband is the front end and you are the back end. Now, the two of you needs to communicate to make a good family. So the API is like the alarino. Do you get? All right. So the API is like the alarino that seems to connect the two of you together, right? All right. So, and there are a lot of okay. Glory David is asking for examples of API. So I didn't want to go into all of that because I feel like it's not necessary, right? So there are different examples, right? There are different examples. We have, web APIs, we have payment APIs like the Stripe API, PayPal API, we have, social media APIs, all those Instagram APIs that you can integrate to your website and all of that. We have, mapping and geolocation APIs, the Google Map API example I gave to you that I told you about. We have weather APIs. If you want to fetch data about weather, there are a lot of APIs. People literally, there's the search API, messaging API. I can give a lot of examples, right? So there are different APIs that, I gave an example. Yeah, APIs like the intermediary. Payment APIs, right? Payment APIs. You want to call a payment service. The API is that intermediary that help you call that payment service, right? That's why you see that. Let me see if I can give you an example. Let me see. Remita.ng. Okay. Let me share my screen to this screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. Let me know once you can see. Share this tab. All right. So can you see my screen now? I'm on Remita's page, right? I'm on remittance page. So you see this place, all this yellow color, this click sign up. This is the front end, right? The front end. All this pay. See how fine it looks like. Is the front end. All right. So now let's say I want to buy airtime. Now, when I click on MTN, now MTN is not necessarily Remitter is not necessarily the one that would provide my airtime. Now, I'm entering my phone number and all of these things. Do I need airtime like this? Okay, let me use something that does not really require me to pay. Sign in. Now, see, you can see this thing is loading now. I'm trying to log in and it's loading. Now, do you know what is happening here? Now, this information that exists in this box, the API now is going to that back to check the database. Now, he has checked it. He has now seen that the information I entered correlates. Now, he allows me to go past, the first page. Do you get that? Are you seeing it? You can see that it was rolling. It was loading. While it was loading, that messenger was sharply ran to the back to check for my information on the database. Now, while it was loading, he has gone to check. He was now trying to bring it back to the front end to tell him, okay, well, this information exists. That's why you see that it was loading. That loading period, when it was loading, that's what was happening. Do you get? Do you get? Do you get? So the same way they build API. So let me I think I get it now. So backend engineers build API. So when they build their endpoints, they build the services, right? They build the data management system. So they don't just build it to just stand alone. So when they build that stuff, they need a way, to connect whatever they have built to whoever needs it, right? They need a way to connect whatever they have built to the front end. Now, after they have built their endpoint, they have built the database, create their database and all of those stuff. So they now create an API, right? An API that would help them connect what they have built to the front end. Do you get? So, for example, Paystack, right? Okay, let me go back to Remitter's page and try to explain with it. Now, I click on RCT Electrical, right? Do I know my meter number now? I want to perform a real-time. So, I mean, I might not be able to perform this thing now. So MTN has built something, right, around airtime and whatever it is. The telcos have built it. You understand? Now, they have built that server logic. They have built the business logic, right? But they need a way for them to connect this logic that they have built to someone who needs the logic they have built, right? Now, they also now build an API, right? That would be able to help them connect this logic they have built to the user that needs it. Now, look at Remitter. Remitter does not necessarily sell electricity. They don't necessarily sell airtime. All they will do is MTN have this their logic, their business logic, which
services airtime. Now, when I build remitter, all I need is a way to connect to MTN service, right? That MTN has built. Do you get? So that the users that are coming on remitter can actually access that thing, that their logic. So they will now still now build an API. And the goal of building that API is to make sure that you see that API can make sure that you can interact, that user on remitter can interact with the telecos to buy their airtime and data. Do you get? Do you get? So when I click on buy airtime, the API will now carry his bag and run to MTN logic side, server side. You understand? To fetch the information I have requested from on remitter screen and bring it back to me. Do you get? Do you get it? Please, do you get it, please? Do you get it? So another example. Um, for people who have always been ordering from, Jumia, right? You notice that when you have put your stuff in the cart, you want to complete your transaction. Yes, yes. You want to complete your transaction. Now you will notice that the moment you click on, now listen to this. I don't know if you have seen it very well. When you click on payment, you see the screen will load, and sometimes you are redirected to a different screen. You might see pay stack or pay something PayPal, right? You might see all of those. You can see a different screen that says uh, now. What happens is that Jumia in itself does not have the old payments logic done. Now they go and meet Paystack. Paystack, oh, you have this payment logic done, and I need my own solution to interact with your logic. You understand? So what Paystack will do will be that Paystack will now give them that messenger, that API. Okay, take integrate this messenger to your system so that anytime you need to make payment, you will send this messenger, send your request through this messenger to my logic. You understand? Now, on my own logic, on my database, on my logic, you will now fetch whatever information you are requesting from and send it back. Do you get? So when you build your business logic, you build your endpoint, you build your business logic, you build an API that helps you connect that logic to whatever user interface. Do you get that? Now, you will notice that, in fact, after you have made payment, you will see an icon loading saying that they want to verify. Is either you click on I have sent it or you are trying to verify that you have sent it. Now, while that thing is loading, another thing that you can think of that is happening is that now you have made your payment. This API wants to go and check to confirm if this payment has been made. So when it sees that it has been made, it comes back and say, okay, this has been made. Let her finish the process. Do you get? So you build the logic, build the whole whatever, but then the API connects the user side, the client side, to the logic. Do you understand? Do you understand? So the back end is where the logic resides, is the server side, is where the database, data management, whatever resides. So it's still the back end engineer that builds both the logic and the API. Do you get it? Please, do we get it now? Do we get it now, please? Do we get it now, oh, people of God? So look at it. Logging in successful. Do you get? Let me log out again so that you can see it. Login. So I click on login. I input my information. This is the front end. See this beautiful button? Oh, this is the front end. Now I click on sign in. You can see saying login in. Please wait. Please wait. The API now login successful. Please wait. The API is sharply doing. Let me run. I go and tell Oga at the back. Come back to the front and give him feedback. Now, when you see that login successful, that means the guy has confirmed that my record actually resides on the back end. Do we get it, please? Do we get it, please? Do you get it? Okay. So we are good, Abby. We are good, Abby. So, in the next class, we'll go into, talking more about the server side, the cloud, whatever. So, it gives you a picture into, the technology that involves you. Thank you, Fumilayo. That involves all of this. Now, I am not an engineer. I'm not a backend engineer. I'm not a friend. I'm just a product manager. But I'm just trying to give you insight into all of this stuff. Do you get? All right. So I'm glad that you get it. I'm glad that you get it. So it's simple, Abby. Product management makes you feel like a chairman, like you have an idea about a lot of things. You do design thinking with the product designer. You work with different team across board to make sure that your product is a success, right? You work with your engineer. You have an understanding of what is expected of him. So when they say that when you're writing your user story, as a user, I want to be able to log in. I want to be able to enter my email and password so that I can log in, blah, blah, blah. Now, you know that two persons have to do that job. You require a back-end engineer and a front-end engineer. Now, the back-end engineer will create that logic for storing information, right? We'll create a database, create a table where information are being stored, right? So the front-end engineer, whatever, will build a screen, right? You build the screen so that now each time you enter that your information, it sends a request to the backend. Oh, okay. Sorry. It sends a request to the backend and checks and through the API comes back to the front end and you're all good. Do you get? We are good now, Ba. We are good. Okay. So when it's done with that, it builds. That means your product is being built. You go to the next phase. Test your product out. Go to the next phase. Launch your product. After you launch your product, check for metrics. Is this thing good? Are my users enjoying my product? Whatever feedback you get from your users, you get back to the drawing board. You work with the marketing team. You work with business team. Work with your engineers. So, product management is interesting. Come and join us. Come and join us in the field. It's interesting. Fine boys and fine girls are the ones who are product managers. You're not like all these designers, very ugly people. You're not like all these front-end guy designing website upside down. Don't mind me. I'm trying to abuse someone that is beside me. So the chilled ones are the product manager. Chilled ones are product manager. The rest of them are dogs. They are dogs. So, maybe you can see now. I'm chilling. I'm chill. I'm chill. See, yet I'm not troublesome. I'm very brilliant. I'm smart. That's like a product manager. Yeah, you're in. So let's have the ride together. I would like to see you 4 years, 5 years. Say, Lita did me good. I'm now a senior product manager. We met up. with Google or whatever company is invoking that time. Sure. That is all I said you knew it. What did you know? That is all. What did you know? You see, one of the proteges of a front end guy has just disrupted my charging. Those people, they have small problems. Okay, I'm good. Thank you. All right. So I'm sure we're good, right? No, I'm not good. It was obvious I was trying to spite someone. All right. Don't be like me. We are lovers of peace, no violence. All right, but do you have any question? No violence. No, that is all. No violence. I love peace. I'm a preacher of love. Chief, adjust my. Yeah, we are preachers of love. No violence. No violence. All right. So, do you have any question? Any question? Any question? Any observation? All right. So and we have money too. Yes, let me add that. We have money. We are rich. Oh, really? I'm a good facilitator. Oh, I'm blushing. Thank you very much. Thank you. I mean, later would only get the best for you guys. Don't worry. Amaka, are you beefing me? So, do you have any question? Amaka, don't beef me. Oh. Any question? Any question? Yeah, God bless all of us. Oh, very detailed class. Thank you. That's why later we'll have us here. They give you the best, you know. It's not beans. All right, so you can ask me questions anyway, and you can also ask me any other question, not necessarily um in as much still in the purview of product, not necessarily what I taught you guys. I'm happy to have your questions, and of course, let me apologize. People that have been in my Telegram and somehow some people go to my WhatsApp. I have not replied your messages. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, you're still able to catch up. Yes, you've missed a lot of classes. I think the classes are on YouTube. You can go back to see them on YouTube, and of course, the resources are available on the LMS. I think I'm sure. So you can also reach out to our gas. How much do APIs charge? So whoever builds the API do the charging. So let me give you one funny. Just give me a minute, please. I don't want my device to go off. All right. So it's the owner of the so the mentorship side of the program, it entails that we have like one-on-one interactions with you guys. Also help you hold your hands through, the journey, right? Hold your hand through the journey. For me, for one, I really like that people don't just take these sections and it ends there. A lot of people just take section and it just ends there, right? So the mentorship is really for me to hold your hands, for us to hold your hands and walk you through the journey, right? Make sure that you two become Agba Pierre.
All right. So whoever builds the API is one that is chopping the money. The API cannot speak for itself. So the API cannot speak for itself. It's whoever builds the API that chops the money. So let me give you. I wanted to give you one insider gist. So one of the businesses I intend to have. Amaka, we can't fight. Oh. How you been chatting me on LinkedIn? Ah, God, I'm sorry. See, I'm sorry. Oh. So let me give you an. See, this is how my life is. I shouldn't cast myself. YouTube is not a good place to cast myself. People will see this video. People will see the video. So don't let me cast myself. I will reply your message on LinkedIn. I'm sorry. So one of the side businesses or project I'm looking to build next will be to build an endpoint, build an API, right? Christine, you asked the question. What question do you ask? Oh, maybe you should try to retype your question, Christine. There are a lot of messages in the chat, so I'm only trying to come here to see your message to try to respond. I know I can't. I need to apologize. I can't offend my guys. All right. So I was saying that. So one of the things I really want to do is build, other than building an entire product, I want to build an endpoint where all I do is just give people APIs, right? Give people APIs that they will integrate to their services, and per API call, I'm getting credited. I'm getting credited. So, for example, maybe I'll build like a a machine learning API, right? That no, don't let me give you all this expose now. But it's sweet money. So, for example, now one of the places I work. Oh no, I shouldn't cast myself now. This is YouTube. So we'll see during the mentorship section. We can have this conversation, right? It's more private. We can have these conversations. All right. All right. So I'm very accessible now. Aced by gifts, very accessible. All the people that have been reaching out to me, how did they get to me? Eh? That means I'm just outside there. All right. So any question, please? Any question? So the API does not get paid. It's whoever owns the API that gets paid. All right. Yeah. I look forward to it too. Musmola, you want to get me in trouble? This is YouTube. Don't worry. Let's look forward to there are a lot of deep secrets I'm going to share when we get to that, you know, that mentorship section. But I hope that people take the assessment seriously, attendance seriously, because I think that's one of the things that sometimes that when I send a prompt or do an online search and it keeps rolling, does that mean that API cannot contact the backend server? No, it does not mean that, Christine. There might be a lot of factors that causes the loading, right? It might be there might be a lot of reasons. It might be network, of course. In a way, it is. It might be network. It might be what else? It might be network. It might be what's this called now? I'm looking for a word to describe. So there are a lot of factors, not necessarily cannot concat. Somehow, in a way, in a way.
There's shall an obstruction between the communication. That's why sometimes you see downloading. Yeah. It might be the site. Yeah, might be the site. So there was a time we built a a captive portal, right? Hmm. Error 404. All right. Yes. So error 404 might be that the endpoint is failing, right? Yes, yes, it's not reaching, the request is not reaching the back. Yes. So, Amaka wants me to cast. I cannot cast. So anytime there's an obstruction, right, from from the front to the back, there might be the loading, there might be an error. There would always be an error, actually. There would always be an error. There would always be an error. Yeah. So I think your thought is also correct. Yeah. There will always be an error. If the endpoint is failing, you get a 404 error, 400 error rather. So all those error codes is none of my business, please. Don't let me start delving into what does not concern me. Let let whoever go and ask from the engineer that builds the API. Don't mind you. So all of those detailing, all of these things I've told you, right? They are just all you need is just the idea. You don't really need to. If you are learning what a backend engineer is meant to know, do you want to start writing code? Eh? So some of these things I'm even telling you guys, what I'm teaching you guys. It took me, you know, months and years of experience to actually learn. Like I've always told my story, right? How I came into the product space and my journey so far. And I think it's part of what I would share in during our mentorship section, right? During our mentorship section. So please, it's important for you to understand your core as a product manager. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen Maybe I should not shake tables here. I've seen people say I'm a technical product manager, API product manager. I've seen a lot of stuff like that. But this is what I would just say to you. Understand your core as a product manager. If you understand your core as a product manager, you'll be able to work anywhere, irrespective of the sector, irrespective of where they call it or how they define it. You understand? The principle of your job remains the same everywhere. So I've built products in fintech, I've built products in Web3 space, I've built products, agri-tech products, I've built, you won't imagine the products I've built. And really, I'm just a product manager. I've built, aggregation systems, I've built payments gateways, I've built, but I am still a product manager, right? It doesn't make me, and all of this, all the old technical product manager, I learned a bit of technicality as I grew through the space. 6 months, 1 year into product, I'm not sure I understand some of the things I know now, right? I am not sure I understand most of the things I know now. It was, you know, as I grow, I told you, product managers need to be very inquisitive. I start to ask questions. You see, these days now, when I start to talk to people, maybe you want to build it, and I start to talk to you, I tell you, you talk about your stack, I tell you some of the things, I tell you what I expect you to do. Sometimes people ask me questions, do you write code? Have you written code before? No, I've not. But I've learned some of these things over time. That's come from experience. So just know the core of your job, right? Know the core of your job. With time, you pick up stuff. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, guys. It was nice connecting with you.
today. See you in the next class. Same time, same station. Enjoy your night rest. Don't worry. When we have our one-on-one sessions, indoor session, I will shake a lot of tables. I will even tear shit. But for now, let me be civil. The Lord bless all of you. Be good and enjoy your night rest. Thank you too, Christine.